On. Good evening, everyone. My name is Roger Ray of the Native UFO YouTube channel and of the Facebook Roger Ray. Tonight I have a special guest, Dr. Scott Kelso, that we've experienced looking at craft together, and I'm very excited about him here. He's an esteemed physician in internal medicine and emergency medicine. So welcome to the show, Scott. Would you like to talk about your bio briefly, or whatever you like?
I am a physician, an ER physician. I'm board certified in internal medicine and emergency medicine. I was chief of emergency medicine of a very busy suburban Washington, D.C. hospital for many years, and chief medical officer of the healthcare system. And hospital got sold, and I got a call out of the blue to see if they wanted to work with some Native Americans, which I had never heard of the Indian Healthcare Service before, and inadvertently ended out in northeast Arizona, right in the Four Corners area on the Navajo Nation, which is in the 4 states: Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico. Inadvertently met Roger, who was working as a CAT scan tech at the hospital, and had never even thought about UFOs or disclosure before. And I worked with Roger for 8 years. We had many, many different conversations about physics, about mathematics, sacred geometry. And then he shared with me, and we saw a lot of craft. So I'll let Roger take it from there. Nice to be with you, Roger.
Well, thanks, Scott. Now that you've been with me and seeing craft and being able to ponder that, yes, they're here, and we've even talked about anticipating what disclosure would look like, I consider this disclosure with this venue. Where are you at? Hold on, I'm going to merge this call. Hi, Brian.
Hey, Roger.
Nice for you to pop up. Dr. Kelso is on the line. He just introduced himself. Why don't you go ahead, Brian, and introduce yourself?
Oh, great. Yes, my name is Brian Tseng, the Solar Bee. I'm the executive producer of the Full Disclosure Now conferences just for 2024 this last July, and coming up again next July in Florida at St. Pete Beach, which unfortunately just got hit by very well documented weather warfare. And so we're making a point to definitely go back to the Serrata Beach Resort again at St. Pete Beach.
Very good, Brian. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Kelso was just giving a brief outline about how having us work together in the emergency room, and then having an ongoing entailed discussion about the sacred geometry and disclosure. And Dr. Kelso was just posed the question, what do you see now that disclosure is upon us, as far as our nation, our planet, preparing the way to deal with the psychology and the cultures of other civilizations? So, Dr. Kelso, that's the question I would pose to you at this point.
I don't know. Like I said, Brian, before you came on air, I never thought about this stuff before. I practiced medicine for 38 years. I came out to the Navajo Nation, and they asked me to stay on full time. And over a period of time, after having multiple conversations with Roger, he shared we would go out in the middle of the night at 4 or 5 in the morning, since we both worked the night shift. And Roger started to point out different craft, which just blew me away.
Right.
He was also basically got to the point where I'd be coming into work at 8 p.m. at night, and I would be seeing them with the naked eye. Roger would often use a scope with an infrared. But I was just blown away, and I still am, at the frequency and how they would just show up. I don't really understand why. I don't have an answer for this.
I can give you some perspective on that, perhaps.
Sure.
Okay. So right now, Earth is at a very, very, very critical time, not just in our history with this planet, humanity, but also with other ET races. Then that we are known as a keystone planet, where there's a larger struggle involving the often spoken about Draco reptilians and their empire. Okay. And then something on the other side known as the Galactic Federation. And then know that there's a lot of groups out there. There's the Galactic Confederation, Confederation of Worlds, Galactic this, and then there's masqueraders, psyops. So, always use your discernment out there, because, just because there's someone masquerading as someone doesn't mean that there isn't a real base person or group or entity.
Right.
Okay. Do you believe that? Other countries around the world, in our world, are working in concert with each other?
To a certain extent, yes, because these are the secret space programs.
Okay.
So these are where, you've got Operation High Jump was documenting the bad Germans and their bases in Antarctica. And then from there, they expanded out into space. And then the U.S. wanted to catch up quickly after that. That's with the Philadelphia experiment and also the Montauk Project, and then other things, Area 51, S4, and all that. And then you've got the Russians and Chinese and Japanese, definitely, because it was after the Germans, it was the Japanese as well. They shared that technology. And then I guess, with time travel, it kind of makes all bets go off. But a lot of the major countries apparently do have this. And then Dr. Michael Sala has been doing a great job documenting a lot of this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And remember, Scott, we had talked about Admiral Byrd?
Yeah, I was actually looking at a program on it 2 nights ago when they came up and we were talking about him. And they had a ticker tape parade for him, and they were commenting about how a flotilla of 40-odd ships went down, and there was a lot of problems where they had to basically retreat.
Yeah, they got chopped up by UFOs that were given to the bad Germans.
Right.
And that's why they went down with like a naval carrier group, and they came back with not much.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Scott, do you recall, I know Dr. Walker, who may join us just for a moment, has had patients come in and just categorically, can you scan, my relative because I think they have implants?
Yes, we talked about that a lot, and we've actually looked at some programs where they had implants that were surgically removed, but we're not really sure how they work or what they're there for. But yes, we have a lot of discussions about it.
Right, but here on the reservation, it's just common knowledge, it seems, of Bigfoot and aliens and, encounters with, right? It's just part of the culture here.
Well, a couple of things. First, I know that for the hybridization super soldier programs that a lot of these militaries run, Native American First Nations genetics is very highly valued. So is certain Irish genetics, or Selkie, Selkie genetics. And then people who have both, who are Irish and Native American genetics in one, they tend to get targeted very heavily. And then when you talk about the nature of these implants, you're going to have all sorts of implants, ranging from the more mechanical stuff, which, will be easier to pick up on the scans and to take out. And then the less stuff that's more of a advanced nature, where it'll try to crawl away from you as you're trying to pull it out of the person. And then once you pull it out of the person, after it's out of the body for a long enough time, it'll dissolve.
Interesting. Do you know the material science behind that at all?
Well, for the smarter stuff, I think it would be certain metamaterials, and then once it realized that it was outside of the host or whatever it was supposed to be tagged into, maybe certain sensor, could cause it to oxidize and set off a chemical chain reaction to make it dissolve.
Right, excellent. Dr. Kelso, do you see the two objects on your screen?
I do.
Yes.
They look exactly like what we've always seen them, and all the ones that I've seen, and I haven't seen any back east where I live also, but they look exactly like what we've always seen. They seem to be rotate, they have different colors, and they move. They're often in different formations, which is just amazing.
Right. And remember that glorious night when we took half the ER out, nurses, security, and we actually have video of it, and 40 ships showed up. Do you remember that?
Oh my God, how could you forget it?
It's just...
Dr. Kelso, I got to ask you this, right? Because you're there in person, and I know it's a lot harder for us trying to look at this through the screen, over YouTube, right? When you're there in person with Roger, looking up into the sky with the other medical staff, and you've got Roger's infrared camera set up on his iPhone or iPad there, and you're just looking up at the sky, the sky with your naked eyes. Okay, you're able to very easily differentiate between the stars and the craft. Now, I know for a fact, just looking at it over the screen, when you see these craft going by and you're whizzing by, that's obviously, there's a craft, and probably aren't normal airplanes, right? But just in terms of when you're looking at these hexagonal patterns, for example, or different patterns, can you talk about what they look like to the naked eye versus on the screen?
Well, there are some times when I can see them with the naked eye. After Roger introduced me, I would come in at 8 o'clock every night, and I would often see one with my naked eye. And I would alert Roger, and he and I would often go out in the middle of the night and look, and lo and behold, they would often be there, probably more often than not. They're not stars. Stars don't form patterns. I have been a sailor all my life, have done ocean racing. I'm very cognizant of the sky and star patterns and patterns of fall and spring and what constellations should be in the sky. These are something that I've never seen before. And stars don't form patterns, and stars don't move like that.
Right.
So it's extraordinary, actually.
And they also strobe, right? A lot of these craft, they strobe a very distinct red, blue, green, red, blue, white, kind of in between those three, or purple.
And it amazed me that when this first started, Roger would take his laser and hit them with the laser, and I'm like, man, don't do that. This could be, you don't know what the U.S. military has, if this is something that we're seeing out here because we're on a 27,000 square mile reservation where there's not a lot of infrastructure. And I said you could get in trouble from the government if you're shining a laser at a pilot. But then, as time went on, he would often hit one of these vehicles with a laser, and it would respond, which just made my jaw drop. So I'm coming into this. I practiced medicine for 38 years. I'm coming into this, getting introduced to this by Roger, not even thinking about disclosure or aliens or anything out of the ordinary. And now I'm like, wow, this is nuts. I mean, to see it once or have the phenomenon once is one thing, but to see it repeatedly over and over again, there's something's going on.
We're surrounded by craft, as you can see now. I mean, and thanks to Roger and friends. And people are seeing. You've got the amateur astronomers seeing craft flying over the face of the moon. You've got people with video, maybe it came from NASA or whatever space agencies, of craft coming out of the sun.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
These are very obviously large craft, and they're taking energy out of the sun. And then I personally have contacts who are in contact with, so they say these ET groups are giving very specific information and talk about, yeah, they have the sun, all suns, all stars are linked together through a portal system. And the science fiction author Ian Banks actually made this kind of the big plot reveal of his one science fiction novel, The Algebraist. And his Culture series, that's the series that Elon Musk is a big fan of and names his own rocket ships after. That is, I believe, very hard disclosure, or not hard, but very good disclosure in a science fiction way of some of these ET races or civilizations.
Mm-hmm. If I may, I had, I believe, sent Brian and Dr. Kelso 3 images of a mothership that I took in another video. And just for the sake of size for the audience, it's going to be blurry at first, but I think it's worth the distortion. I want to show you that image that I sent to Dr. Kelso and Brian. And this is of a mothership with a scout ship on the upper right corner, which I estimate to be a diameter of 40 feet. So these objects that you're seeing, I'm guesstimating based on they're approximately 5 miles away, the magnification of the camera, the altitude, and I'm estimating their size to be 40 feet. Now this image of a mothership, take a look at it and it'll give you a sense of dimension. Hold on.
While Roger's pulling that up, Dr. Kelso, did you have any questions about the whole exopolitical situation of this? I know I only kind of barely got into that.
How do you think the world is going to find out about this?
Well,
how is this going to manifest?
So it's going to be disclosure from the bottom up by being a literal tidal wave. Wow, that seems like a very bright image. It seems like a mothership and another ship accompanying it.
Correct. And so if that scout ship is 40 feet, then that mothership with its aurora or its aura, you're talking the size, of a small football field.
So then it's pretty far off in the distance.
Yes, this one was. But again, with that scout ship, you get an idea. That scout ship is about the approximate size of these ships here.
And it was closer than the mothership was to you.
Well, it was darting around like a mosquito. If you look at the video, it looks like, no, that can't be. But it's in the energy grid of the mothership. So there's a flow dynamics and energy dynamics between this little scout ship buzzing around the mothership.
Now, the thing I'm trying to reconcile is my understanding is that a lot of the secret space programs in general are still hostile in the main to the Galactic Federation type forces, and they're more still subservient to the Draco reptilian ET groups. This is why a lot of the craft get shot down. And Audrey Walters provides the answer for how ET craft can come from across the universe and through portals and get shot down by human military technology. The answer is twofold. One, any ET craft or ET race that respects the Galactic Federation rules of the Prime Directive, if they do come to visit within the vicinity of Earth, they are not allowed to bring any advanced weaponry or even defensive technology. They're able to come here in the equivalent of their pleasure craft. Okay, that's number one. Number two, the U.S. secret space program and other secret space programs, they do have very advanced weaponry that is able to track the benevolent ET craft. Gamma ray bursts and ion trails is one example of how they do this apparently. And then they can shoot these craft down and make it a point to recover the craft. And usually the occupants are dead by the time they get to the crash sites, because most of these ETs aren't equipped to deal with the Earth atmosphere.
Right. Not to interrupt, can you see the difference now in this? These are a whole array of ships, but you also see faint objects. You see how many are now appearing. they're appearing as we're talking.
They're manifesting, they're materializing. And then I'm wondering if these are light ships of some sort, where they might be higher dimensional, where they're able to appear and they're not breaking rules, and they can't get shot down.
Right. Well, that's a different conversation, because I've seen military C-147s fly right over the hospital. Do you recall that at all, Dr. Kelso?
Yeah, I was. Well, you never where we were or are. We never hear planes, and there have been numerous planes flying over the hospital, but they've all been military. Other than when there's some forest fires out there, some of the firefighting planes have flown over the hospital. But I've seen a C-130 refueling tanker. Not sure whether it was a C-130. It was a very large refueling tanker escorted by 4 F-18s fly right over the hospital at a low altitude. And having been involved with Roger, I'm like, what the heck is going on? Well, it turned out it was in New Mexico National Guard, recognizing first line responders and doctors and nurses during the COVID pandemic. But other than that, I've seen a lot of military planes fly over.
Right. And occasionally we have Green Berets come through, and there's a hint of Special Forces camps over a time, not recently, that have been seen by the local population. So there's something going on. I'm pretty convinced that the government is aware of the presence of these craft.
Well, so, yeah, we did a secret space program. They're shooting some of these craft down. We're trying to.
Right. But particularly here. And that's why I treasure Dr. Kelso's friendship so much, because he comes from a scientific base, but he's not prejudiced at all by, the ufology field, which can be quite complex and difficult to follow. Yeah, but Dr. Kelso has spent time with me, looking at William Tompkins and Corey Goode and David Wilcox and their storyline. So he comes it with a rigor of science, like I attempt to do, and
then just so you know, those names are very highly controversial in the community. I personally like David Wilcox. Corey Goode, I'm not happy with the whole lawsuit. Whole issue fiasco. Just so you know, I know a lot more people who are way more credible witnesses and survivors of these actual programs. To answer Dr. Kelso's question about how it's going to happen, it's going to be what the other side calls catastrophic disclosure. It's what we call full disclosure from the bottom up. And the more disclosure we do, the better a job we do as humans here on the ground with shows and programs like this, the better and less catastrophic, quote unquote, it'll be from a larger societal perspective. But no matter what, all structures of power are due to be shifted from this.
Yeah, I'd personally be interested in the physics, but that's another story.
Oh, we could discuss some of that.
Oh, yeah, please do. I'd love to.
Okay, so the TR-3B triangle craft that are patented, you can find them online, the Ad Astra program, they're apparently using 0-point energy, okay, to and something to generate that is, they're called MFDs, at least according to Robert Fuller. He's a sci-fi author who wrote a whole series called Solar Warden, and then he basically tells you that this is like, he's writing it quote unquote sci-fi based on like all his sources, and then he goes into the way these craft function is, for humanity to first master the craft was very dangerous, and a lot of these test pilots died. And it didn't apparently work out so well. The TR-3B apparently takes, like, at least according to this one author, 3 human pilots, and they're neurally linked through an AI. So it's kind of like 4 pilots working together where the one pilot's like the main pilot, the other's on like radio and communications, the other one's weaponry and defense systems and power. And that's and by using 0-point energy and anti-gravity field disruption, that's how they power the craft, for those craft. The more advanced ETs, they're able to open up portals, and apparently some of the secret space program craft can do this. Roger Ray, Roger's mentioned William Tompkins. I've been told that the Solar Warden fleet, all those ships, they have a plaque dedicated to William Tompkins because he designed those ships.
Wow. Yeah, remember that, Scott? The Wasatch Mountains, where the underneath the Wasatch Mountains in Utah is where the human galactic fleet that was created. And then help me remember that British fellow who stumbled into the NASA computers and found the manifests of those ships.
Yeah, that was the computer hacker Gary McKinnon.
Exactly.
Who I think was in the 90s discovered the Solar Warden extraterrestrial officer list and other stuff.
And also the names of the different ships.
Yes, like the USS Hillenketter.
Yeah.
Right. Are you guys seeing the?
Note the Germanic name. That's because of Operation Paperclip and all of that history.
Right. Are you guys seeing this formation here? I'm just seeing if there's another hexagonal-like portal, because you had mentioned, Brian, there's a mist around it, something like the Milky Way, and I was just noticing that by reviewing the film. If you have this kind of mystic cloud and geometric formation, I don't know. It's all extrapolation, of course, but
well, a couple questions here. We can do some steps here. One is, how far away or high up, altitude-wise, do you think these craft are from the surface of Earth where you're standing there?
Okay, so
are they miles and miles and miles up? Like,
not at all. So I keep referring to that ridge where Bigfoot is, and I'll point it out to you. It's right there, and that ridge from here in a straight line is about 5 miles. So then you go up in altitude where the ships are, and my estimation is 1,000 feet.
Okay, it's not high at all.
They're very close. They're very close.
So then here's another thing you can do. Is with a smartphone, you can get one of these like Sky Watchers or Star Walker apps, and it'll line up what constellations these craft are relative to. And like that almost looks like an Orion type pattern. And then see if they're lining up with certain constellations. That might tell you if they are doing portals where their focus is.
Yeah, I like that. It's a very good point. Now I interpret their formations as a kind of lens for the cosmology configurations. That just popped in my mind. I never thought about that their configurations are energy lenses.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of the Egyptian pyramids, like, I don't know. I think it's the reason why they're laid out like the Orion map like that is basically the Draco Reptilian Orion Empire declaring at the time, this is our turf. Just like what Audrey Walters says is there's a planet that apparently was known as Tiamat or Maldek. Did I just see a craft fly down there?
Yes.
Yeah. Tiamat or Maldek, and she says that the Pleiadians or in the Galactic Federation types of positives, at least, they don't like the name Maldek. Maldek in Draco-Reptilian language means our turf.
Ah. Was that the super Earth that was between Mars and us? That's the asteroid belt?
It got blown up, and that's the Kuiper belt.
Gotcha. And supposedly the SSP is mining that. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, they want to, and it makes perfect sense, because if you've got super rare, at least on Earth, the metals especially, and ores that they can mine, by finding a giant nugget of it floating in space, and they're going to make a big the popular science NASA rinky-dink erector set version of, we're going to pilot a little, tin can out there on rocket fuel and make it back, like a bad Hollywood Armageddon movie.
Right. Brian,
when they've got these craft that can like zip out there, tractor beam whatever they want, to where they want, and then mine it using very advanced technology that's thousands of years ahead of what we're, on the surface of Earth even know about.
Brian, I'm wondering if you could just have a brief discussion with Dr. Kelso about the med bed, about its coming, and what medicine and techniques do you believe the Galactic Federation is about to bestow on us?
Well, my understanding, again, this is through Audrey Walters, who's a contactee of the Galactic Court System, which is linked to the Galactic Federation. This is in regards to enforcing universal law, divine law, free will, the law of one, things like that. That technology is really Palladian technology. This technology that's being abused in the secret space programs to regenerate super soldiers, to go through portals or board craft and then raid to other planets and civilizations. And it's not pretty. This is like what they... so this technology, my understanding is they are quantum AI holographic in nature. What they do is they scan your DNA on a quantum holographic basis, and off of that, they're able to generate the image of the idealized version of what your genetic information is containing, the morphogenetic code, right? And then off of that, it's able to materially generate that here at the physical level to heal you at the physical level based off of your DNA patterns.
Wow. So it's kind of like holographic surgery? Is that one aspect of it?
Yeah, 3D holographic quantum AI surgery.
Wow.
With 3D printing thrown in.
Yeah. Well, Scott, what's your response to something like that?
What better can you say than wow? Yeah, I would like to see that in my lifetime. That's why I was asking about how disclosure is going to go about where we can peacefully have knowledge in order to help humanity.
So basically, to the other side, it's called catastrophic disclosure because they don't want it revealed about the little people being hurt in their islands. As the song goes, rich men north of Richmond. If you're familiar with this. And so when that happens, you see the Farsight Institute, they're friends of mine, and I'm a huge supporter of theirs, their work. They've done remote viewing, and they have contacts in the Galactic Federation. And it's very consistent with what all my own other personal contacts are saying. And what they're saying is there's all this time it's been a Cold War between the negative Dracos and Greys against all the Galactic Federation types. And you have to understand that the Draco Orion Empire, that their whole military might is very, very formidable. So it's kind of like, it seems like there's a huge stalemate, and what goes on here on Earth is very important. Because if humanity can wake up to the point where it allows the ETs to reveal themselves more and more without violating the Prime Directive, that may allow them to assist us more and more. And in turn, you have to understand that the Earth is not yet even part of the Galactic Federation. So there's Galactic Federation worlds out there that are being messed with by the Draco, and the Galactic Federation has a hard enough time protecting them. And then here we are on Earth, and yes, we're a keystone planet, but we're not even a chartered member of the Galactic Federation of Worlds.
Well, here's another question for you, if I may ask. Do you think this has anything to do with the age of Aquarius and the humanity achieving greater consciousness.
Absolutely, because it's really linked to the ascension from third to fourth to fifth density level consciousness, and the age of Aquarius, as the Earth is on circling around the sun on and like the eighth outer spiral arm around the Milky Way, as we're rotating around the galactic center, we're now at the age of Aquarius entering a region of the cosmos where we're getting bombarded with higher levels of cosmic and galactic energies and rays. As we get hit with more energy, right, that's your science, people, you know, our vibrations are going to increase. This is literally burning out the darkness and leading to not only physical but also spiritual. Of course, spiritual comes first effects. You know, I personally have a biochemistry degree and then 8 years of medical advocacy with medical doctors and nurses and mental health professionals.
Wow. Yeah, remember, Scott, we talked about everything is frequency. You know.
Yeah, everything is frequency. Everything has a frequency. That's when you Roger also is performs ultrasound, and we talked a lot about medicine and ultrasound and how that can be, the frequency of ultrasound can be used in healing. I think this has been known by past civilizations for a long time.
I think it could be used for healing, but if it's tuned in correctly, and especially by these bastards at GE, you know, that same ultrasound could be harmful to a fetus, theoretically.
Of course it could, yeah.
Right,
you know,
right.
It could be used for harm or good, and that's, you know, a big issue with this. You know, Dr. Kelso, I hope you get to join Roger and I at our conference, shameless plug, next July in storm-struck St. Pete Beach area. And you'll get to meet a lot of these individuals or the contactees of probably the beings piloting some of the craft over Roger's head right now. And the craft, again, they're here for a wide variety of reasons. Many of them are ET species who literally have their friends and family incarnated down here. This is known as the Starseed program. And what these galactic beings realized a long time ago, and what Source God literally apparently called up people to, or beings, entities to incarnate here on Earth, is to anchor in the light. And they realized karmically they couldn't just come here and interfere and help. But the way around that karmic barrier was to have their own flesh and blood, or whatever, beings, family, incarnate here to give them literal skin in the game.
Right, right. You guys seeing this triangular formation? I look for triangles.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice?
Did you zoom in on it or something? Or?
Yeah, I zoomed in on it because it just seems fundamental. I've seen triangles on Roswell crash pieces, and Dr. Kelso has seen those images, and one of his colleagues, Dr. Walker, was with me when we saw the Roswell crash pieces, and I won't say where. But there was a triangle etched on the quote unquote I-beam of the ship, and so that's the hint is the triangle, the tetrahedron energy grid. And these
energy forms that aren't visible to humanity by the naked eye, like the Merkaba in the occult and magically, is very significant. ETs speak about it. Apparently, you know, they create what are known as Merkaba light vehicles. Biblically, it's referenced as the wheel of God.
Right.
Merkaba is the, you know, one pyramid facing up, and one pyramid facing down, you know, inverted, and then they intersect. And that star tetrahedron pattern, that also happens to be the electron conformation pattern of atomic gold.
Right. Or the hourglass that encompasses electron orbitals.
Just going right by the triangle here.
Yeah.
I'll zoomed in on.
Yeah, it's passing right between.
And to the naked eye, you can't see that.
No.
And it's flashing, it's strobing. And that looks like an IR type strobe, but that's not a military craft.
No, there's nothing there. And you've seen like that too, Dr. Kelso, right? There's just not.
Yeah, many times, yes.
It's not there.
And now it looks like it's powering up. It's going from a triangle to a diamond.
Yes, it just did that before our eyes. And it's symmetrical. It's very well. It's not, and it appeared. Stars don't appear. Well, gentlemen, it's getting close to end. This is another phenomenal conversation. Thank you, Brian, for your input. Dr. Kelso, I just treasure our friendship, and you're such a credible witness to all of this. I thank the both of you. If you have any closing statements.
I'm just going to say I thank the both of you also. Nice to meet you, Brian.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. The pleasure's mutual. I'm glad to be here with you, Roger. Please tag me. As long as I think I'm off Facebook restriction once again, so I'm more able to easily share. And then I know that there are other people in our community I want to share the videos with, because by getting us to work together, we can get people on the line or in person with you there, Roger, who are ET contactees, they're psychics, they're channelers. We can remove a lot of the guesswork and go as best we can to the source material. And I think that that's really the new direction that we're heading in. That's a big aspect of the disclosure movement. In addition to rallying all the whistleblowers and survivors to bring out their testimonies and to support each other, to name names, to call out where the abusive bases and where the abusers are. It's that type of pressure worldwide that is also going to lead to a spiritual ascension, because in knowing the truth of all this, we will naturally vibrate at a much higher state, and then we can together as a society make properly informed decisions instead of the Luciferian lies we've been spoon-fed this whole time.
Yes, very well said, very well said. And we're all on the same page. We want the truth to be known. We want us to come together as one species and join our galactic brothers. So from Native UFO YouTube, I thank you for being here, and peace and love to you all. Good night.
Thank you.